Trump says Iran has one more chance at peace as Tehran rebukes the fact that they ever talked at all. And every news media pundit and geopolitical expert out there is simply beside themselves, aghast that Trump could ever bother to threaten striking Iranian energy resources. It's a violation of the law of war, and now it gives our enemy permission to do the same thing. Never mind the fact that the enemy would do it anyways. In fact, Iran has struck over 300 civilian targets since the start of the war. The fact of the matter is that Trump's rhetoric is just a part of the propaganda, which is just a larger part of the information warfare space that we find ourselves operating in today. I'm not sure why people don't understand this. Back in the day, with regards to information operations, it used to be the classic case of broadcasting radio signals, of demoralizing messages to your enemy troops, or dropping leaflets across your enemy troops to give up, or something to that effect. These are just examples. But now we are in the information age, the digital age, where information travels around the world in the speed of light. And so we actually have to leverage that within our actual war planning as we conduct operations in real time. And part of that strategy includes diplomatic messaging and social media messaging. And so this is just a part of that larger strategy. And some people are wise to it. Obviously, Trump said this and is using this tactic to keep the markets calm and cool crossing into this week while we engage in warfare, and I'm sure we'll ratchet things up next weekend. We are also awaiting the arrival of 2 Marine Expeditionary Units to the area. And so ever since the start of this conflict, there are multiple things to navigate here. 1, you don't want to telegraph what you're actually going to do. 2, there is the consideration of no boots on the ground, of which Trump does reserve the right, and he's always said as much, but he's really trying to thread that needle. And then 3, there is a political component here that he's also trying to navigate because midterms are coming up, and that's just a reality. But this war was not a war of choice. It was a war of consequence. Every administration, didn't matter the party, has said that Iran will never achieve the ability to have a nuclear weapon. And so Trump is no different. This conflict was inevitable because of the existential threat that the IRGC posed for the last 47 years. They've made no bones about what their intentions are if they ever acquire a nuclear weapon. And now we are seeing what those intentions are in real time as they pull the levers of power that they still have available to them, which the pressure point of which is the Strait of Hormuz. That is a global energy supply pressure point that we've known has existed for decades now, and we've been planning for this eventuality. And so many are wondering why we weren't ready to take the strait right off the get-go, and that would have telegraphed our moves. Had we had these 2 Marine Expeditionary Units already in theater prior to operations, the IRGC would have known how much business we actually meant. That said, we have been prepping the battle space with over 8,000 strikes so far, many of which have been centered around the Strait of Hormuz, because we do plan on maneuvering through that strait eventually. But what I find both laughable and irritating is the armchair quarterbacking from the smug geopolitical experts that think they know better, when in reality they hold the same mentality of those that have planned out our wars for the last 25 years. This is coming from the same foreign policy and military priesthood that has blessed us with multi-trillion-dollar forever wars stretching across 2 decades, and yet they sit there and scoff at the current operation as if they know better, when they clearly don't. Another thing that this armchair quarterback class seems to be missing, that disruption can also be leverage. Just look at what happened when Iran started their mosaic strategy. They went ahead and attacked all of their neighbors indiscriminately, and the majority of which are targeted at their neighbors over Israel. They targeted civilian locations and just random locations on top of strategic locations. And so all the GCC countries are rebuking the IRGC. And traditionally, in the history of the last 10 years, primarily focused on the Ukraine war, has shown that our allies hesitate to do anything expeditiously or quickly or within the interest of those that actually need their help. And so why would we rely on that? Even when they were flattered by Bush and Obama to please increase your defense spending, it was only until Trump came along that they finally decided to do so. So why would we rely on that level of hesitation and give our adversary an advantage? In this instance, with regards to the Strait of Hormuz being under pressure, now with this strategic anxiety, they are forced to make decisions and begrudgingly, but eventually come to the table and support initiatives to make the area a stable location. If you want an Iraq-Iran comparison, then this is the one to draw, where the old guard would have preferred a coalition of the wielding, slowly built up over many months, reassuring our allies of our pre-conflict intentions as we venture into another forever war through Iran. But in this instance, we get the rapid response and the element of surprise that has allowed us to conduct 3 weeks of operations that would have otherwise taken us an entire year to get through. I'm not saying that what we've done in 3 weeks would have taken us normally a year. What I'm saying is that the start of any kind of coalition building to where we've gotten in 3 weeks would have taken a year. And that's just ridiculous. But what's even more ridiculous is this idea that because we weren't perfectly prepared to counter drones, that for some reason this is turning into some sort of failure when all of the metrics on the ground show the opposite. Drones certainly have their place in the future of warfare, and I could do an entire other TikTok on all of the drone development that the Pentagon is currently working on to include anti-drone technology. But you don't build your military around a weapon system. It's just another tool in your tool shed. What this administration is attempting, whether they like this style or not, is something very different. Limited boots on the ground unless absolutely necessary, compressed timelines, preserved surprise, and a rapid effort to break through a coercive threat that threatens to mature into something that is so great and so dangerous that it would have cost even more exponential lives, treasure, and time than we currently have now in order to defeat.